Okay, we can go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us today for Navigating Grant Opportunities with the EPA. My name is John Jackson with the Ohio Aerospace Institute. And before I turn it over to Anthony Gillespie, I just want to cover one little piece of housekeeping. If you have questions, we're going to answer them at the end of April's presentation. And if you could direct those to the Q&A chat down at the bottom of your toolbar, we will then better be able to manage those questions. Without further ado, let me pass it along now to Anthony Gillespie, Director of Tech-Based Economic Development with Ohio Aerospace Institute.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Navigating with the EPA webinar. I just kind of wanted to set things off here a little bit before I pass it over to our speaker here from the EPA and share a little bit about our organization, kind of why we put on this webinar, and then just kind of thirdly, really give you a good feel for things to think about as far as our speaker goes through his presentation. So three things. I'm going to start with the first one here, a little bit about our organization. I am part of and Director of Tech-Based Economic Development with the Ohio Aerospace Institute, which is part of Parallax Advanced Research. We're just a nonprofit organization that does research and development work really in two areas. One, we do contract research for government, industry, and academic stakeholders. And then our second area of focus is really the area I work in, is really more our advisory services piece. And we work across all technology areas in general. I would say on the research side, it's a little more specialized as far as aerospace naturally and a few other areas. But on the advisory services side, we work in a variety of areas. Secondly, really kind of drilling down as far as specifically our advisory services. This webinar today that is sponsored by the U.S. Small Business Administration through a program called FAST that we manage, the Federal and State Technology Partnership Program. And really this program is focused towards America's Seed Fund, which is the Small Business Innovation Research Program. And really probably the primary reason why a lot of you are here. The SBIR program is really focused upon helping small businesses take their ideas to market, developing their ideas to the marketplace. There's 11 agencies involved, over $4 billion available. And so we work through our group as far as the Ohio Aerospace Institute work as part of the FAST program to help companies really navigate and really learn more about this program. The last thing I wanted to share with you is really specifically drilling down a little bit more about the FAST program. We really kind of focus on two areas, really to inform you, and then secondly, help you and further engage with the respective agencies that are involved. Folks say, why do you need a third party to do that? One of the things I will share with you, all the agencies, if you're not familiar with them that are involved with the SBIR program, they do it slightly differently. You'll hear today from the EPA how they run their SBIR program, but if you went to another agency, you'll find out it'll be slightly different. They have the whole overall blueprint that's in the policy directive, which guides the way the program is managed overall. But then the respective agencies have some differences between them on how they actually operate their efforts. And so that's why it's key to have a partner that you're working with to help save you some time and help you point in the right direction. And that's the role we play. And so lastly, I would say going into this webinar, I encourage you just to really take in and, put yourself in a position to see if this is really a good fit. The EPA, you'll find out they have a RFP that's coming out here in a couple of weeks. So if it turns out it's a great fit, then I encourage you to look further as far as applying. And then secondly, if you have any questions coming out of this, we're here as a resource, like I said, myself, as far as at the Ohio Aerospace Institute, as well as our speaker, who's going to be coming up on stage here in a minute here, April Richards, who's the SBIR program manager with the EPA. I'm sure she'll be available and share contact information on how you can reach out to her with if you have further questions as well. So with this, I'm going to turn it over to April Richards. She's the program manager with the EPA's SBIR program. She can bring great experiences for us to the conversation based upon some of the work that she's done on the government side, as well as in industry. And she'll be talking more as far as our current role here and how you can get involved as well. So over to you, April.
Great. Thank you, Anthony. That was a really good introduction. I think you framed the program really well. Let me share my slides. And let's see if I get them in slideshow mode. Does that look good?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. Thanks again. Yes, I'm April Richards. I am the program manager for EPA. That's the Environmental Protection Agency's Small Business Innovation Research Program, which has been rebranded as America's Seed Fund. Easier to say and like a little bit more of a message of what it actually is, trying to seed good ideas through this program. So, and again, I think Anthony just touched on some of these, but this is a program across the federal government. It's a really big program, 4 billion plus. We have a very small slice of that, but an important slice. But I'll just give you a little context about the program. So it is a set-aside program for small businesses to get engaged with federal R&D. A lot of federal R&D dollars go to academic institutions, and this program was designed to carve out a little bit of that for small businesses because you're entrepreneurial and you're good at solving problems and you're nimble. So this program's been around for like 40 years. The goal is commercialization. We want the product technology that you're developing to get out in the marketplace and be a commercial product. So it's different than other research programs in that way. It is non-dilutive funding in your company. We don't take equity. We don't take a stake. It's not a loan. We don't ask for anything back, really. We just want you to go forth and be successful. So it's a very good program in that way. Again, it was mentioned there are 11 agencies that participate. There's some really big ones like Department of Defense, National Institutes of Health, NASA, NSF, and then there's a bunch of us smaller ones, USDA, education, transportation. And again, lots of money across the federal government, billions of dollars. So definitely worthwhile to look into. And the program is managed by the Small Business Administration. They kind of oversee it. And that SBIR.gov website is their website. And I don't know if you're new to SBIR, it's a great resource. Tutorials on how to apply, all open funding opportunities across the government, all projects that have been funded through the program. So lots of information. Okay, so that's my background, and now I'll jump into the EPA perspective. EPA's mission is to protect human health and the environment, a mission that is near and dear to my heart. And agencies use the SBIR program to support their mission. So I think Anthony mentioned like each agency is a little different. And so we are looking for technology innovations that are going to help us meet that mission. That's what we use SBIR for. And we have a whopping $5 million a year to do that, to save the planet. It's a modest budget. We are the smallest of the 11 agencies, but we do our best to address important issues and get some good projects funded in support of that. And again, we are like other small agencies. We have one funding cycle per year. So we release one funding announcement, which is coming up soon. Some of the other agencies that have more money will do like rolling applications, or they'll have multiple solicitations per year. But for us, the smaller agencies, we do one funding cycle per year. But like other agencies, we fund in a phased approach. This is the design of the program. Phase 1 is proof of concept. And that's really like you give us your good idea and like prove it out. We're going to give you some seed funding, $100,000 for 6 months, and like convince us that it's going to work. And then those phase 1 projects can compete for phase 2. And that's really to develop and move the technology towards commercialization. For EPA, that's $400,000 for 2 years. And then we have a commercialization supplement that adds another $100,000, kind of like to incentivize getting third-party investment. So $500,000 for phase 2 if you get the whole package. And just a disclaimer that the original slide said EPA like grants. I will just say some agencies use grants in this program. We actually fund all of our projects through contracts, just a funding mechanism that we use. So again, what makes EPA's program unique? Again, modest budget, but we have a few kind of targeted topics that we release every year, maybe more than a few, but my intent as the program manager is to give a reasonable funding rate. Like I want people that apply to have a reasonable chance of getting funded. So we're trying to keep it around 15%. And that's where we were last cycle. We're also encouraging new businesses to apply, companies that have no prior SBIR awards, or companies that are startups and just getting going. We really encourage you to apply. So there's just some stats. We had 50% of our applicants had no prior SBIR awards, and 41% of our actual awardees were first-time SBIR recipients. So again, we're trying to do better in that area. Other things about EPA's program, again, applying, we have fairly specific topics, and we really want proposals to be responsive to those topics that we identify each year. And again, that helps us manage the number of proposals we get, and it helps you have a reasonable chance of being funded. Once funded, we have a nice like smallish group of projects. So it's a really, to me, kind of intimate group. I don't know if intimate's the right word, but there, I said it. We do connect companies with EPA experts. So we'll connect you with someone that has interest and expertise either in your technology or in your topic area, just to help you navigate the process and to help you like understand what EPA's priorities are. We do provide commercialization support through TABA, that technical and business assistance. That's a sort of an add-on to phase 1 and part of your phase 2. And then we do a lot to communicate successful projects. I really am a strong believer in this, and we have a lot of social media. We have a good website. We have a distribution list, just trying to get the word out about your good work. And I feel like it's kind of self-perpetuating. And last but not least, we're helping to protect the planet, so you can sleep at night. So again, I don't know like what stage everyone on the call is in, but we do have a solicitation. We also call it a BAA, which is a broad agency announcement, and it's supposed to open in about 2 weeks. Our planned date is June 26th. That could shift a day or two, but we've been pretty good about getting them out on time, and it will close about August 21st. So I will go through the topics that we have this year in a minute. So if there is something that fits, this perfect timing for our annual solicitation. The topics are posted at that link, but those are just topic titles. I will talk a little bit more about the topics, and then in the solicitation, there'll be even more detailed information on the topics. And that's our listserv. If you have any interest in our program, like you have an environmental technology, or you're just kind of interested in what our priorities are, subscribe to the listserv. We try not to spam you too much, but we'll definitely send out, when the solicitation is released, when we make awards, kind of our big announcements. All right, so let me talk about topics, because for us, this is what would make you decide whether you're going to apply to our program or not. And let's see, I'm moving myself over. These are our broad focus areas, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And these stay the same mostly from year to year, and they kind of align with the way EPA is organized and with kind of our research areas. So clean and safe water, air quality and climate. Those kind of are probably obvious EPA priorities. We also do some work in Homeland Security, so we usually have a topic there. We do a lot in circular economy and sustainable materials and safer chemicals. And again, so for this year, these are the exact topics that we've released. So for each of those broad topic areas, we have 1, 2, or 3 specific topics. And I will just walk through those all right now. And I'll just say, I think what I'll do, I think it's a fairly small crowd. So if you want more information on any of these, I can read a little bit more detail to see if it is something that might be relevant to your technology. But for now, I'll just do a real high level overview. Again, going through each one. So for clean and safe water, we have 3 topics. The first one is nature-based solutions for water reuse. Ways to like recoup water that would be, wasted and make it usable either for potable or non-potable uses. We have a topic on PFAS. These are these perfluorinated chemicals that seem to be everywhere right now, and we're looking at treatment technologies for those in wastewater, sludge, and biosolids. And then the last one is treatment for cyanobacteria and cyanotoxins in drinking water. That's kind of related to that picture on the left because those are the products of those harmful algal blooms. Okay, on the air side of things, we've got 2. One is the technologies and tools to monitor and reduce air toxics exposures. And the second one is air pollution control technologies for small sources. So one kind of more monitoring technology and one more control mitigation approach. For Homeland Security, EPA's responsibilities fall in the first responder area. So that team is looking for scenario-based training for disaster response, again, because we're first responders and we want better ways to train those folks. In the circular economy and sustainable materials, we've got a food waste topic, which is focused on prevention and recycling of food waste from the consumer perspective. Kind of similar, we've had these topics in the past, that topic. The source reduction and reuse, which is like the best way to address waste is not to create it in the first place. So this is a very upstream and broad topic about how to prevent waste, prevent it from going to the landfill, from the incinerator, etc. And the third one is lowering embodied carbon in the built environment. And the last area, safer chemicals, we have 2. This is the first one is rubber anti-degradants. This is specifically targeting a chemical called 6-PPD that is used in tires. And the tire wear means that those chemicals end up going into waterways and have harmful effects on the ecosystem. So looking for safer alternatives to that. And the second one is next generation fertilizers or enhanced efficiency fertilizers. So fertilizers are obviously great for their intended purpose, but they're often maybe overused or too many nutrients get into the environment. So looking at better ways to have nutrient control in fertilizers. So a little bit of everything, that's what we have this year. I don't know, hopefully there's something that might be of interest to you. I will talk a little bit about how to apply. And again, I kind of beat this drum a lot, but proposals should be responsive to the topics. I certainly can provide you some general advice if you think your technology fits, but you're not totally sure. You can always email me something short, like what topic you think you are responsive to, and I can give you some feedback or try to connect to the topic author. Always your choice whether to submit or not. We don't tell you yes or no. It's really, your technology best. Like, can you help us solve that problem that we've identified? Really up to you. And if you do decide to apply, we have a nice a web page that will help you walk through the process. For timing, I mentioned this, our annual solicitation opens later this month. It will close in August, and we have done a pretty good job of getting money out the door faster. We'll We fund phase 1 projects starting early December typically. It's about 120 days turnaround, which for government is kind of like lightning speed. And then the phase 2 is kind of the same schedule. The phase 2 competition would open at the end of your phase 1. You'd have about 45 days or so to prepare a proposal. And then again, 120-day turnaround time to fund that phase 2. So I'll talk a little bit about the proposal evaluation and selection process. So obviously proposals are coming in. These 2 blue arrows are our review process. And then we're making awards as contracts. So we do these reviews simultaneously. We have an internal review. So EPA experts look at your proposal for technical strength and for the relevancy to the topic. And then we outsource an external review that's just looking at the commercial potential of your technology. And these are the proposal evaluation criteria that we use. Again, so the 3 buckets I mentioned, technical, relevancy, and commercial. They're each 1/3. You'll end up with a score that's kind of like an academic scale, so 0 to 100. So again, in-house are the first 2 EPA people looking at your technical merit, your technical approach, and your company team from a technical standpoint. That's 1/3 of your score. The relevancy review, what's the potential impact of your technology? Is it responsive to the topic? Again, think about mission, like EPA's mission is to protect human health and the environment. So we'll get really excited about impact for the environment. And then the commercial review, again, that's outsourced. And that's going to look at innovation and IP, the market opportunity, your company team from a commercial standpoint, and your commercialization approach. And again, I have a little disclaimer down there, solicitation is the official word. Like all of these things will be described in more detail in the actual solicitation. And drilling down a little more on how to apply, we do use FedConnect. It's just a portal that allows us to do business with the private sector. You can, as soon as the solicitation is posted, you can view it through public opportunities. You can look at the whole thing and see all the topics and how to apply and all that good stuff. If you do decide to respond to the solicitation, then you have to be registered, but it will be publicly posted before that. And I always say, like, this is a great program, non-dilutive equity. It's so many good things, but we are the government. So there are a few registration requirements that you'll have. The first, and some of these apply to any agency, I will say. So like SBA company registry, this is the SBIR.gov website, and you have to go in and register there for applying to any SBIR program. They'll issue an SBC control ID. SBC just stands for small business concern. They'll just give you a number, and we need that number in the proposal. That helps them track you through the SBIR process. SAM, System for Award Management. This is kind of a big one. Again, this lets the federal government give money to a private entity. So again, and this is a system outside of our control. So, and it can take a while. So if you do want to apply again to any agency, this is something that you would want to start early. And even if you are registered in SAM, it still requires an annual update. So just make sure you go in there and make sure that you have got the renewal process under wraps. UEI, Unique Entity Identifier, this replaced DUNS, kind of assuming that folks have that in line if they're a small business and thinking about these programs. And then again, for us, we use FedConnect to get proposals in, and you would have to register with FedConnect if you're gonna submit. I'd like to mention there are some new requirements. These are relatively new. They've actually been in place for about a year. So if anyone has applied in the last year, you've already been through this, but the program was reauthorized by Congress in 2022, the day before it was set to expire, just if you want to know. And Congress is worried about foreign interference in our research programs. So they added some new requirements related to foreign interference. And we are looking at foreign personnel and affiliations. We will look at patents, and we also have to look at cybersecurity. So that's across all agencies. For EPA, the way we implemented these new due diligence requirements is you have to fill out this disclosure form. It has like 7 questions related to foreign affiliations. And it's linked there if you want to see what we ask, but that's only if you're selected for award. And we also, the way we're addressing cybersecurity is just an education requirement. So you'd have to take like 1 webinar or something. It's not a super high bar, but just to be aware that those requirements are new and in place across the SBIR program. And one other thing I always like to do, because we have such a modest program, and I'm sure there's lots of good environmental ideas out there, and you're probably like, gosh, I did not see my technology on your list. Doesn't mean it's not important, just means it didn't make it to our list this year. But there are a lot of other agencies that fund environmental technologies, and some of them are listed here. And I will drill down just a tiny bit. This is the same list, just with words. NSF, National Science Foundation, funds almost all areas of technology. They call themselves topic agnostic. There's a program in NIH related to Superfund that actually funds hazardous substance research and site characterization. It's not a big program, but if you have a technology in that area, it could be good for you. Department of Energy does a lot of work in the environmental arena. They do instrumentation to characterize water, soil, and the atmosphere. They obviously have a renewable energy focus. They look at carbon capture, remediation, and a lot related to the water energy nexus. Department of Agriculture is another one with overlap. They're looking at forests, conservation of natural resources, aquaculture, biofuels, and bio-based products. And NOAA looks at climate, weather and oceans, coasts, and including clean water and air. So again, a lot of overlap. Each agency always looks at it through their lens and kind of prioritizes it in their way, but there is definitely overlap. So this is my take-home messages. This is kind of like if you're thinking about applying, or like make sure you have a technology that fits the topic. You definitely got to read the solicitation. It's a hefty document, but you just want to make sure you follow instructions. If you're going to get in there, you got to start your registrations early. You don't want that timing to mess up a proposal deadline. Develop a strong, readable proposal. Some agencies do like a pitch or a white paper ahead of time. We don't have that. We just have like, you just submit your full proposal. So you're really, a lot is writing on that one document. Address all review criteria. Again, we are the government. We're very process oriented. You're going to get a score based on those review criteria. So make sure you address them all and get the best score you can. That kind of puts you in the pool for consideration. And definitely don't wait till the last minute. I think this is the same for most all agencies, but we have a system that takes the proposals in, right? And it's due at 12 noon. And if it comes in at 12:01, that system will just funnel you right to the late category, and we cannot consider you. So don't make that mistake. That does happen every year. And thank you for helping us save the planet. We need your good ideas. I think I have another last minute. This is like my penultimate if you decide to apply. But again, if you decide to apply, come back and look at this slide. But we've got a how to apply page. A lot of our forms are online now. We have a checklist in the solicitation that will tell you what we've asked for, and that's like what we use to see if proposals are responsive. And there's some guidance on FedConnect too. So this is really if you do decide to apply, but we're trying to help you get that proposal in on time and according to instructions. Just a quick public service announcement for I-Corps. We have been working sort of informally with the National Science Foundation I-Corps program at George Washington University. And I don't know if folks are familiar with I-Corps or not, but it is a great program really focused on customer discovery and helping companies identify their first customers, like look at their product and get feedback and see if it's what the market really wants. Anyway, they have a short course and they accept participants on a rolling basis. They've been accepting a bunch of our companies in, the ones we funded, but they're also looking to expand. So if you're interested, there could be a spot for you there. So check out that link. And I am sort of wrapping up here, but I always like to talk about a couple companies that we funded. Ecovative Design is one of our favorites. They develop mushroom materials. They basically grow mushrooms around like ag waste or different biomass. And they can make all kinds of cool materials like this packaging right here. Think of a replacement for styrofoam. They can make construction materials. They've made furniture. They've made textiles. They've moved into the what do they call it? Meat-free foods. And they've got a lot of cool clients. And another more conventional, maybe one for EPA related to water quality is this algae tracker. It's an early detection system for water contamination, especially related to those HABs, those harmful algal blooms. And it's like a network of floating buoys that provides real-time information. And I think that is it. But this is me. It's, again, I'm kind of a one-person show. I do have some support, but most questions channel through me. And just a couple links there, our website. Again, if you're interested at all, the listserv is a great resource. That other link is a nice program overview. And then there's SBA's website, sbir.gov. So thank you so much for hosting me, and I'm happy to take some questions.
So I'll kick it off. I know John's looking at the chat here, April. I guess going back to your slides, kind of one comment here for folks, if they're interested in just kind of doing more of the SAM registration, kind of more of those kind of process things and you need assistance, I encourage you to reach out to your Apex accelerator in your state. They were formerly called PTACs, Procurement Technical Assistance Centers. That's always a good resource as far as trying to get those process items such as SAM registration, or even if you run into hiccups, we send a lot of companies there. They're a good resource there. You mentioned as far as agencies, April's list wasn't all inclusive as far as environmentally focused agencies. DoD also does some work as far as PFAS as well. We have a few questions I know in the Q&A regarding PFAS. I think more, and Mike mentioned here, he was really inquiring about outside of SBIR, are there larger funding opportunities available either with EPA or DOE? And I won't go into all the detail here, but he was interested as far as, are there any opportunities coming up in a pipeline to fund outside of SBIR that's bigger for the PFAS challenges here?
I'm not an expert, but there's certainly a program called, I'm going to pronounce the acronym, it's SERDP, ESTCP. It's SERDP. And it's kind of a partnership between Department of Defense and EPA, and they've had some funding opportunities for PFAS. Again, I'm not an expert. I think it's a little more focused on demonstration, but that would certainly be something to look into.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're right about Department of Defense. They do fund a lot of environmental work. It's a great point.
Yeah. Yeah. And I knew your list wasn't all inclusive there, but we've had a few companies we've advised that have actually been successful in getting SBIR, STTR funding through DoD is how I've seen it. So just wanted to throw it out there for folks to take into consideration. Just trying to see here. There's one more question. I think, Scott, you mentioned as far as if you're at the airport and if it's the airport that's looking to apply, this program, as far as SBIR, STTR, is for small businesses. Maybe from an operating standpoint, I'm not sure as far as your involvement. If you are a small business and you're looking to get some funding, then this could possibly be a program. I would encourage you to either reach out to me or reach out to April as far as specifics and exploring whether there's some applicability to apply through that route.
Yeah, I'll just say eligibility, it's for-profit small businesses in the US. The limit on small businesses is like 500 employees, so it's pretty big. Like typically the small businesses we fund are a lot smaller than that, but the actual legal limit is pretty high. And just one other thought, like EPA did get a bunch of money for the like Inflation Reduction Act, and there's some other big dollar programs in our agency, like so certainly, and there is a pretty good website. I can put it in the chat if I can find it. But like if you Google EPA IRA, there is a list of funding opportunities, and might be more appropriate for like maybe an airport or like a partnership with a community, something like that, rather than just small business.
Yeah, and that was brought up in the chat here. Someone was inquiring about Infrastructure Inflation Reduction Act funding available. They were speaking as far as PFAS in general, but I'm glad you brought it up, April, as far as a funding source outside of SBIR Sitter that can be available. I was trying to go through the list here. Partnering opportunities for this. I mean, STTR is a partnering mechanism under the SBIR program. It's a small business tech transfer program where you're required to have a, it's always termed, I think, a federal, it's a partner as far as a technical assistance partner. There's a certain framing to it, and I don't want to misspeak as far as the language, but that is where the small business is required to have a partner to do a certain percentage of the work for the STTR opportunity. And so that's under the SBIR program where you would be required to partner. Otherwise, it's up to the small business to assemble the team, and they can contract out some of the work based upon how it's applied, presented in the solicitation. But I'll let April add to my response here.
No, that was good. I'll just say like STTR, the 5 largest agencies have STTR, the smaller agencies do not. So like we do not have an STTR program, but like Defense, NIH, NASA, NSF, they have STTR. And I typically think of it as like a partnership with an academic institution. I think there can be other partners, but yeah, it is, money goes to the small business, but they have to have a partnership to meet the requirements of the program.
Yeah. Jeremiah asks, yes, PTACs were rebranded as Apex Accelerators, I think, within the last year. So PTACs and Apex Accelerators are the same. The Procurement Technical Assistance Centers and then Apex Accelerators are the same. Mr. Nam, Ms. Nam, is there a specific format for the proposal? Yes, you would look at the solicitation. I think April addressed that, but yes, definitely you want to look at the solicitation once it's issued for the format of the proposal. It's usually spelled out regardless of the agency on what they're looking for as far as the required format. And the last one I see here says, do you support new technologies like VR, XR, so virtual reality? I can't remember what XR is these days, XR for Homeland Security training.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like stepping back, I guess what we try to do is identify a problem that we have, and then you propose the solution. Some topics are a little more detailed than others, like the Homeland Security guys, they kind of know what they want. So there'll be some parameters, but like we don't usually specify the type of technology. You kind of specify that. So yeah, there'll be more detail. I'm happy to, there'll be more detail on the full solicitation. Let me see, I can see, let's see, Homeland Security. This is what I have for that topic in my high level notes. Adaptive scenario-based training platform for emergency responders. Produce video-based simulations of dynamic scenarios that are immersive and responsive to users. So.
Yeah, you can always follow up. I guess one question I had, April, as far as I know, certain agencies that use contracts as their mechanism for awards, they have a quiet period. So once the solicitation is out, you may not necessarily be available, or there's certain groups within the organization. So I just wanted you to comment on that, if you have a quiet period or not.
Yeah, good question. I would say right now is the best time, right before the solicitation opens, because I can speak freely. But I will always try to answer your question. Maybe when the solicitation opens, I won't be able to answer every question, but I will try to help. But again, I just encourage you, look at the topics. If you feel like you have one that's responsive, you're going to make the case that you can respond to that topic.
All right. Yeah, I know every agency handles it differently, and I know
Yeah.
especially in the procurement office, they're definitely, if the mechanism is contracts, then they will go through a quiet period
Yeah,
where
like
the
when you
only
can't.
way your questions can be addressed is through a publicly available site, or they'll take in questions and then post responses. So to
Yeah,
the
we probably
public.
have a little more bandwidth than that, but it will, once the solicitation opens. They just don't want to give any favoritism to anybody, right? But the flip side is I want to make sure you're applying if you should apply and not wasting your time if it's really not a good fit. So
Any other questions for folks? I don't know, John. I don't see anything else here. I'm not sure, folks, if folks had questions they want to verbally kind of come off the mic or raise their hand and come off the mic and ask.
I'm not seeing anybody yet. I think that might be it then.
Last call.
Going once, going twice.
With just general feedback. I mean, how, did you find this helpful? I mean, I'm curious from our perspective. One of the things we tried to
A
do.
couple of
Oh,
we
Jim.
have a hand up.
Yes.
Jim.
Yeah.
Good morning. I think it's greatly usable, great information. Just really want to be ahead of the game and get the deadlines, and also any type of visual presentation of what it looks like if there's a presentation involved or something like that. Not only the papers and other documentation, just things that have actually worked before.
is that for me?
Yeah, I think it was more of a comment, April. He's just saying, it's helpful.
Yeah.
But also, and what we hear from a lot of companies, and Jim is echoing this, they're always interested in what are examples of successful awardees. And I know you put generally maybe annually or throughout the year, here's an example of a company. And you presented a few in the presentation of what they proposed. But we also hear from companies also, can you provide like an example of a past, proposal that was successful? Just those guidelines that can help them frame their narrative. They're always looking for that.
Yeah.
And it's a challenge. I know you all have to have a balancing act, especially since your mechanism is contracts versus some of the agencies that are grant based. But I think I summed up, hopefully, Jim, what you were saying in your comment here.
Yeah, no, that is a good comment. I mean, you can certainly see everything we've funded on our website, and you can see like the cohort. We always release that in a press release, and that's posted sort of prominently on our website. But we just do not share proposals. I guess like there's always the CBI, like confidential business information issue, like sharing anything that's proprietary. And I guess there's just so many ways to write a good proposal. We hate to see like this is the one way to do it. Like, I don't know. We try to give pretty detailed information in the solicitation, but I can see the company's perspective.
Yeah, and the other thing, Jim, I would say, we're the fast awardee for the state of Ohio. They're fast awardees almost for every state now. I'm not sure where you're located. Tap into a resource like your FAST organization. They can help as far as doing what we offer to companies is a pre-read before you submit of your proposal. We encourage organizations, and that's part of the reason why you should start early, to try to get to us sooner versus a week before it's due, because we can maybe do a read or two and help guide you on what we're seeing, because we work with a variety of players and we can share some of those best practices of what we've seen. So that's another option as well. And it's not going to cost you. Like I said, we receive support from the Small Business Administration to support businesses to help them be successful in going after SBIR or STTR grants. Some companies have gone the route of hiring a consultant, but usually I encourage them to try to look at some more efficient routes first before going that route, because we've seen mixed success with companies even after hiring a paid consultant.
I did put the EPA IRA funding announcement in the link. I don't know that it's appropriate for anybody, but it is a lot of money, and it might be useful if someone's interested in digging into that a little bit.
Yeah, no, and last thought, just kind of as far as what's successful. Yeah, go back and look at you can go to SBIR.gov. That's kind of catch-all for across the agencies. There is some latency on the awards that are posted there, but that will give you a feel for the types of opportunities that have been funded and received awards. And you can do a keyword search. So that may also help you kind of figure out a particular agency that might be a better fit versus others.
We do have one more question in the Q&A.
Yeah, I'm smiling because I understand, yes, definitely the acronyms. So the program is called the Federal and State Technology Partnership Program, FAST. And if you go to SBIR.gov, you'll see they have a listing for the Federal and State Technology Partnership Program. And then depending upon what state, I would start with your state organization. But it's fine if you want to reach out to me. I can also point you in the right direction as well.
Yeah, I'm just putting a link on the SBIR.gov. There's like a whole local assistance page. You can put your state in and it pulls up all, I guess, SBDCs and all that. So there's just a lot of great resources out there. Just have to kind of navigate them.
Thank you, April. Yes.
Sure.
All right, any other questions we can help you with?
I see any other. He's giving everybody a few minutes to take it in here because we know it's a lot of information. And I think there was a question earlier about the slides. We will follow up with everyone with the slides. We'll include my contact information as well. So if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out.
Yeah, to Anthony's point there, reaching out to him is a great resource. Whether you're trying to work with EPA or any other agency, he's a great sort of nexus of information on where to guide you to the appropriate, probably in the appropriate direction, whatever that might be.
Yeah, we're going to work with you as far as across all the agencies, and that's what we've tried to do with our navigating kind of grant series, is expose small businesses to all of the agencies that offer SBIR, STTR opportunities.
Yeah. And you offer assistance in proposal development as well, correct?
Yes, we will help companies review their proposals. We don't write them, but we will help as far as reviewing and just as far as kind of thinking through strategizing as far as the development of your proposal. Slightly different, as I said, on how the agencies operate. Some look for white papers, as April mentioned. In their case, they're definitely more formal. You're going to submit a full proposal for their phase 1, phase 2 opportunities. Certain agencies have gone more to the pre-screening before you submit a full proposal. So we can have those discussions with your respective company, depending upon your interests. Okay, I don't see any more questions. So we're going to wrap it up unless we get any last minute inquiries here. One more last call. Okay, thanks everyone. Appreciate your time here and look forward to potentially engaging as far as we move forward. And thank you so much, April, for your time as well.
Thank you, April.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for hosting.
Have a good morning, everybody. And
All
good
right, take care.